Thank you very much that you all came, and I think we have the AgriFuture Days 2019 today. That's more or less the official name. I welcome also Sarka Horkova from Club of Ossiach. And me, I'm also a member of Club of Ossiach and Produce. We organize it together. And there are a lot of participants. At the end, there should be 4 continents sitting here. And I think what we could organize is a small creative group. They could do in many, many different countries, something that might be for the future exciting to run agriculture and forestry and environment better than in the past. So the first opening I would like to ask Alfred. Alfred is more or less the official representative for Carinthia, and there's something funny ongoing in Carinthia. He is running tomorrow, so with me as a small partner there, a symposium where they link the art, the nature, technology, and education together. And I think that is in principle a big project and a big problem that we have global. And I would like to hand over now to you the words, and when he is finished, then I would like that everybody is introducing himself. But first, Alfred, a little bit from your side.
Thank you for being invited, ladies and gentlemen. Dear ladies and gentlemen, guests of the AgriFuture Days 2019 in Villach. My name is Alfred Woschitz, and I'm very glad to be invited here as a representative of the Carinthian Writers Association to be able to say a few words about the relationship between nature and art, in particular to the literature. I would like to point out 2 books. First one is The Touch Wood catalog, describes aspects of current research into nature, photography, painting, and installation. And the new publication of the literature photo anthology, My Tree, authors of the Carinthian Writers Association, on forests and trees. Trees. Everywhere forest and trees. For that one completely wooded continent, our former natural habitat. We are still forest people, displacing our paradise through civilization since modern times. The tree is a strong symbol in religious and mythological terms. Tree of life, family tree. For almost every human being there is a special tree which he combines memories with. This is from the foreword by the editor and president of the Carinthian Writers Association, Gabriele Ruswurm-Biro. The Carinthian Writers Union dedicates a literary focus to forests and trees in its anniversary year, inspired by the art project For Forest by Klaus Littmann. From October 25th to 27th, 2019, the 9th Alpe Adria Literatursymposium of the KSW in Gmünd, organized since 2002, every 2 years on this topic. The author is a recipient of excitement, no matter where it comes from. Heaven, earth, a spider's web. That's why you should not make a difference between things. There are no noble homes for things. Nature booms, not only in the literature. The more we alienate ourselves from nature, the more we yearn for it. In literature, nature beyond kitsch and cliché is surprisingly painful, scary, and seductive. Nature is a millennium-old motif with which literature stands second. What is man? Behind the wall of smoke in the brain, there are other areas, bluer than you think. Nature writing. It does not need more than a lake to swim in the middle, eyes at the level of the water surface. And then let your gaze wander to the shores of trees, to the heron on the low-lying pasture, to the fish wriggling in the grebe's beak, and on the reflection of sky and trees, which pushes into the next with each arm pull. A 360-degree perspective of a world that is only possible there, in nature, literary. As a metaphor, the lake is enough for a whole genre. To go into nature, to reflect on it, and to know what that experience does to do. To write about it then. It is a highly political writing. After all, we live in a society that has been exploiting nature as a raw material for centuries. In an era in which the weather always means more climate, disasters, existential fear, fight movements. And in a country where landscape was once ideologically saturated and in which, again from above, it is defined what home should be and for whom, everywhere. Nature is a source and estuary. It would have to be the wedding estuary. It would have to be the wedding of nature writing. Alone, the genus does not exist here, so to speak, in Great Britain, North America, Australia. Genus does not exist here, so to speak, in Great Britain, North America, Australia. There are whole bestsellers, authors' careers in new nature writing, and tens of literary prizes. Local bookstores are still not sure whether they should pack the books in travel, outdoor, autobiography. No wonder. There are stories that play with prose forms, often scientific, politically and historical, and court novels, non-fiction books, and self-reflective memoirs at the same time. And that without any kitsch suspicion. The circle of nature, described by the philosopher Schopenhauer, throughout and everywhere, the real symbol of nature is the circle, because it is the pattern of recurrence. In fact, this is the general form in nature because it performs in everything. From the running of the stars, poem of Christian Morgenstern. I did not pick up some flowers for you today to bring you their life. Thank you for listening.
other. Very quick, everybody. I think we can hand over. Oops. Now it should work. Oops. Carefully. So maybe you can help to hand over the micro later. I would like that we introduce each other very quick. Everybody says just his name and where he's coming from, and I leave the micro once running around. And I start on my left side with Elizabeth, just to introduce, just with a few words.
Hello, good morning. My name is Elizabeth Adekunle from Nigeria.
Oswin Slade from Australia.
Harald Rohrer from Villach. I was a banker in former days and now I'm trying to get some financial structure done.
Franz Hermann from the University of Transform Pedagogy, Economics and Law into Systemic Social Science. Give a short lecture later. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Harald Wiesenbeck. I'm from Munich, Germany. I'm just here to listen to all of you because we had earlier contacts with Walter Meyer.
My name is Nicolette Schwartz. I'm a lawyer in agribusiness and I'm from the Netherlands.
Hello, my name is George Cvetkovic. I'm coming from Serbia and working in public estate Vojvodina Šuma.
Hello, Biljana Cvetkovic, Serbia, private company, representative of Hag of Sweden, and also produce.
Hello, my name is Bojan Tubic. I'm coming from public enterprise Vojvodina Šume, Serbia.
Hello, my name is Šárka Horá, the Czech Republic, and I also work for Club of Ossiach.
I'm already well known.
Hi, my name is Manuela Hirschmugel. I'm from Austria, from Graz, working for Your Name Research, and we are doing satellite image processing.
My name is Herwig Zeiner. I'm working also for Your Name Research. My current research topic is IoT and cloud computing.
Hello, my name is Florian Müller. I would consider myself a partly friend and assistant of Mr. Walter Meyer. And now I think I'm here as a guest to listen to all your expertise and your informations.
Hello, my name is Sylvia Drummel. I'm working for Progress and Club of Ossiach.
Hello, my name is Thomas Ulbrich, and I'm here with Klaus Katzel and with Raphael. He is translating outside into the German language, and we are making streams here, also for YouTube, and also on Okitalk Radio. This is an internet radio, okitalk.com. Yes, and we want to stream everything and to make videos afterwards, because it's a very interesting topic and there are a lot of people who are interested in more than we can do here in the Park Hotel of Villach, and so we have some materials afterwards to promote this great idea. Some more. There is a data security. I don't know. If you really don't like to be published, then please tell it to us. Yes, then we can make some pixels over that face if it's necessary. Please. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, my name is Klaus Glatzel. I present okitalk.com, and I think we have a good day today. For good information, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the introduction from everybody. I would like a little bit to talk also about the technology we are setting up here. And I think it's a learning process for everybody, but the target is to have this technology from the colleagues here, a radio and television station ready for ecology, agriculture, forest, environment on a global scale. So with them together, we can build this up. And we are working on a model that everybody can use on the globe. And he's on video and everything what he or his colleagues, they are linked together, is digitized and is digitally available on internet global. And the brain idea is really that we have a television and radio session that is focusing on agriculture, forest, environment, natural risk management. And I think with the colleagues, thanks for coming. It is technically available today. It is a learning process. Several things that I did in my life was a learning process, but I think we had already one session done for a test case, and we had 1,000 visitors. Very interesting. So now here, it's great we are here, that we are 25 people, 30 people here, but we had 1,000 visitors on nothing, without any marketing, nothing, we just opened. So that means we find a new technology and would like to link this technology because it's needed not only for distributing and for marketing from our side, it's also technology because it's needed not only for distributing and for marketing from our side, it's also a huge possibility for the whole education process. Because I think education will run in a different manner, and we have an education that was the reason why I also have been invited, and we spoke very much with Alfred. Education will be one of the big focus for the future. How do we get all this new information that we have educated, and the change is not so slowly in the moment ongoing. Education will be a very, very big topic. Okay, do you have still some very, very big topic? Okay, do you have still something to tell about the technology, or is so far okay?
I want to tell you that we can offer to help you to make similar sessions in your town and so, and it's possible we can do it from home also to support you if you want to go outside, to go to media, to make a radio, to make a video live streamings. Please talk to us, and we want to give you the necessary support you need.
Hello. So, здравствуйте. Здравствуйте. Okay, everything okay. Okay, no problem. So finally we have the Russian colleagues here. Please just feel free. So I think the next session, when the two colleagues, there are 5 still missing, they will run around or search around, but they will come soon. And I think I would like to ask Mr. Zeiner. The next one. Are you ready for your presentation? Because the colleague from Romania is also still missing. He just found before that he is on arriving. Is that okay? Fine. So the next is Mr. Zeiner, and he will be speaking about big data because he is coming from UNAM Research. It's the biggest science organization that we have in Austria, and they are focusing with one group for big data. And big data, when we think we have here, the Russian colleague is responsible for photogrammetry. That means there's a lot of images coming in future. And we have this huge image amount, is big data what's coming. Здравствуйте to the next Russian colleagues coming. Finally, they found here. So finally, a few words from my side. These are some colleagues, and I say one is coming from Siberia, is rather far away, therefore sorry, a little bit too late, but no problem, everything okay. So then the next colleague, where he is in the moment. I don't see him. So wait a few seconds, then I hand over and he will do it.
Yes, in my talk, I want to speak a little bit from a digital point of view, how we can digitize our nature. I think it's quite important that we support nature and try to digitize some it, that we better understand it before we destroy it. So first, just a few words to our company. We are a research center in Austria. We're the second largest here. We are based and owned by the county, Carinthia and Burgenland, as in the south of Austria. We have several research departments. When I say about 7 research departments, 2 in the medical area, 1 is digital, where I come from, Venezuela, and then we have also some for robotics. This is also in Carinthia here, and then we have also a center for material science. And I think it's important to understand when you digitize something, robotics is an important field, materials is a new material is an important field, and you need some software and data analytics to combine that. Here's some number. We are quite big and do a lot of research, mostly in Europe and nationwide. But we have also, especially in satellite image processing, here we have also quite a lot of international projects. So in my talk, I want to start with some facts. Maybe you don't know it, but from a digital point of view, electronic-based point of view, and then I will explain a little bit more why it's important not to support the nature, but also to produce data and to share the data afterwards, because in the end of the day, we will have a physical side, so our nature, plus a digital. In the end of the day, we will have a physical side, so our nature, plus a digital model of it. This will be simplified, but we should see is as a unit, and with the digital side, we can understand probably our nature and look better in the future. Afterwards, I speak a little bit. So start with the motivation. So we are here in Carinthia. And just let you know, this is a quite important area for electronic-based systems. We are quite well known on a global value, this region. It's not just known for the very beautiful nature, but there's a leading silicon microcluster here in Carinthia and Styria. It's about around 100 companies from global players like Infineon, NXP, and also smaller system. All of these companies place also some kind of ecosystems. We have here in the region quite a lot of universities, applied research centers, applied universities, they work together, plus the smaller companies, bigger companies, and it's a very inspiring environment. Just the electronic center is responsible for about 30,000 jobs in the area. And what is interesting in Carinthia is they have a very high value of industrial research because of some really national global players like Intel, like Infineon, and so on. And the region in Styria, where we come from, they have quite a high research rate, about 5%. It's quite high, and we belong to the top region in Europe. And when you digitize something, it's quite important that you give an object an ID. And our region in Styria, it's quite known for this RFID technology to give them, and you can give an object an ID. This does not substitute the object, and you don't have to understand a tree, and this you can model everything, but you give one thing an ID, and we belong to the region in the world which develop more than 50% of this RFID tags. And the development of this tags is now going to % of this RFID tags. And the development of this tags is now going to next thing, this simple tags with an ID. In the future, there will also simple sensors. They can measure, for example, a liquid, very simple and cheap technology which can help you to digitize nature itself. When you digitize something or producing data, we call it also datafication process. You have a simple line. You need a sensor, you need some connectivity. Connectivity means that you send information to each other. That means also communication. Then you build up a network of it. Then, of course, you produce data from this network itself. And it's quite important for the digital world that you also do it in a secure way, that nobody else, just this person should read the data which has the right to do that. And then you apply it to different kind of industry. In our focused phase, bio-based industry, agriculture, forest. It's just a way, it's a standard value chain, this IT value chain where you can digitize something. But with this technology stack in this left side, you can produce quite a lot of data. When you generate data, I think it's quite an important point that you think about it, what you can do. Normal workflow about that is, depends what you want to do at the forest. We want to measure something. I think you need a clear objective, a clear where you want to go. Afterwards, you get the data, and then you produce a model, depending on what you want to do. Detect something, predict something, recommend something, or optimize something, and then communicate it. Could be a report, could be integration in a system. This is a very standard way to produce data itself. Regarding big data, I will not go too much in detail, but today there's a lot of technology available. I think it's quite important from the infrastructure itself, from the databases, analytic stuff, application itself, plus a lot of open source technology. I think the point is that you need a clear goal, what you want to do. I think also the technology stack is available, but I think the most important thing is that you have a clear goal to look at the future. Therefore, I think it's not important that you produce big data. I think you should produce as much as data as possible for your problem. Raw data, analyze them, and build some nice application. What we know, we have all our mobile phones here. At the end of the day, we have a mobile device with us, and infrastructure which is running somewhere. It's not so important, but at the end of the day, these devices will be in our hands, and it's just important that we produce some nice application, and this is also in this context the key. When we do that, I think we should be aware that the data what producing it is not fixed. The data is moving from one application. The data what producing it is not fixed. The data is moving from one application to it, from one tree to another. And I think we have here two things to say. First, that we look at the data what we produce, depending on the problem, and then we should also think about the way how we connect these things and work that this can be an infrastructure level or on a application level. Where we stand today when we do some data analytics, just to give you some overview. Currently, we are in the middle of it. So normally, the standard way is to collect something, describe something in database. We have this done the last 20 years. Normally, we check something and analyze what happens in the history. But the interesting stuff is always to say what happens in the future. And it depends, of course, on the problems. When you think on automatic driving or something like that, what we as a human or technologist, we want to go to a state where decision support is maybe done without the human. Because when you do automatic driving or automatic driving for farming, then it's not possible to do the human intervention. So here, what we are doing, and Manuela is explaining a little bit more in detail later on, here concrete work, what we have done, monitor forest. And here we have an example for forest change monitoring. The forest is quite important for us. In Austria, we have a lot, for example, to avoid flooding, mudslide, and so on. And here we have done, Manuela is explaining it more technical detail later on, because she's the expert in doing such stuff in satellite images. It's quite important for the forest to know the history, but it's also important the current status. And here we have an example where we check the forest and the changes in a specific time range. This was just one concrete example of what we can do. But the most important thing is when we build the application itself, we have to think about it, how we share it, which technology we use. And here we had in the current history an example from a research project in Austria. We call it data market. And I think this could be an input for this community. When you build a lot of application itself, but at the end, when you have an ecosystem, when people change ideas, change data, you have to think about it, how it works. On the one side, for such a data market, you need an infrastructure. This is normally cloud computing technology. Probably you have also researchers involved at the beginning. Later on, it's built done by a company to promote this technology. Then you need service provider. Service providers are, for example, research companies or also companies which do some forest monitoring, as an example, or do some farming service for farmers, build some information system from them. Then you need some data providers. Data providers could be satellite image companies who produce the data, but with the raw data itself, you have not many things to do. So you need this service provider who use this data to produce new and interesting service for each other. And on the other side, the end use of that abstract model of a data market could be a farmer, for example, who use this data, who use for his forest the changes and so on, and he needs just the changes for his forest. But then there are, for example, also companies or public organizations who do that for a wider range, for Austria, for Europe, and so on. These are the data market customers from a bigger perspective. And then you need brokers, as in real life, people who connect people. And here in a digital marketplace, you connect digital service in an automatic way. And here, when this was just one Austrian initiative, there are also some other European initiatives in this sense. One project, it's called Industrial Data Space. The idea of that, they started with industry, but you can apply this idea also for agriculture and also for other type of areas. Here you have different companies. Companies could be also public organizations or non-profit organizations. They want to share this data in a very secure way with each other. And then you have in this ecosystem, maybe other data marketplaces. You can have also, instead of open source, also open data, where you combine this in using and so on. This industrial data space is therefore interesting because they apply it for industry, and they have to ensure that the data is exchanged in a very secure way with each other. This fits very well. Also, this data market example from Austria belongs to a research strategy of our government, and we try, at least from the public policy point of view, to produce more lead technologies and also to establish such type of markets and a data-driven economy. This should, the outcome is quite important for education purposes, but also for educating people for the next technology breakthrough. And this is also in line with the European policy to build such a data economy. And from our side, it's quite important to establish this digital site, and they invest quite a lot of money, and they expect a lot of income in the next future. So just a third thought for this discussion now. We have data market is some type of a digital platform, but when you go next, the platform itself plays quite an important issue nowadays in the platform economy. A platform economy is always done like a data market. You have different customers and different suppliers, and they work together and build some type of ecosystem. When you look on the list of companies which was important 2008, and you look at the list of 2018, you can see that the leading companies have all of them have a platform model. Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon is United States, Facebook. Then they have also Tencent and Alibaba, two Chinese companies, and you will see no European companies there. But also on the next slide, this is even more interesting. The most important platform companies worldwide. You see Europe doesn't play a big role in this area, and you see Africa is quite near Europe. it's quite an interesting view of this platform business. And Asia is growing. I think United States is a little bit losing, and I hope that Europe get a little bit more speed, because otherwise we are very dependent on the others. And that's also a quite interesting feature when you see the platform index compared to the DAX index or the Nasdaq index, Dow Jones index. That means all business which running with a platform model is growing much faster than the other type of business. So this is just important. Why platform models growing so fast? Because they have a network effect. Because people are interested, like a booking, sharing, booking.com, for example, is also a type of platform. People are using it, looking at, and these are growing much faster for that. And when we think about that in agriculture or forest monitoring, I think there will be additional, will be also similar initiatives in the future. This is a picture from Exenta. We will produce also in this field much more data in the future, and we should think about it, what we can do in the future to support our nature with digital models in a sustainable way. To sum up, I think an ecosystem, and the nature is also an ecosystem, needs data sharing, needs data markets in the future. The data will be additional connected world, and I think it's a way, it's important for us all that we use the network and start with a network thinking and think about how we can handle data in the future. Okay, these were very, very short, but some thoughts for the discussion today. Thank you very much. Yes.
I don't think I must repeat it, or should I repeat? Okay, I have to repeat it, sorry. So I think the big data is important because when we speak about the nature, we speak about giant data sets. We never had this big data set that will come in future. So the idea, and speak a little bit in the afternoon, we have 13 billion hectares of land. This is only 30% of the globe. 70% is the seaside at the end. And on every hectare, we have between 5,000 and 10,000 or 3,000 trees, smaller, or we have 100,000 of small elements. And we have on one tree, maybe 5 million or 10 million needles. Please multiply it. You are into quadrillion of data. This is really big data. And what I will tell you in the later afternoon, when we evaluate these data sets, we can start to understand the nature much, much more precise than in the past. And the main thing is then, we will have also a speech of the topic of ecology valuation. When you start to calculate and to evaluate ecological values, this is a giant big data question, that we understand the nature and any change in the nature, etc. So therefore, thanks, Mr. Zeiner. And I think some of the ideas maybe he was working with project a couple of years, and I hope that some ideas came from there also, because the thinking process, and this I would like to address here, we have to have a cross-thinking process. We are different people from different countries, but maybe there's one common target, and this is a cross-thinking process, how to integrate the whole thing. And this, thank you very much for the big data session. If you have any questions, just feel free to call him. Okay, thank you. Sorry, click off. We are waiting for a colleague. He will come in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Let's decide. Switch to another one. Franz Hörmann, but I think it's too long. Or it's okay, but then it's the coffee break later. It's okay, fine. Okay. A few words about Franz Hörmann. We started, before I had the accident, speaking about the question of ecology and economy valuation. He is professor of bookkeeping at the University in Vienna. He was a critical thinker because he had a problem. He said once that he will tell it in detail. Banks are not so good in their bookkeeping. They were wrong. Then there was a struggle, but economy valuation, and I tried to add on to cooperate with him in the ecology valuation. The bookkeeping we did on the globe is wrong when we don't see both sides. We cannot have evaluation on one side, someone has 5 billion income, and on the other side, we have maybe 10 billion minus damage in the nature. That's not okay. That is minus 10 billion or minus 5 billion in that case. We have to change. Please, thank you.
Me? Everything okay? Okay. So, my dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the kind introduction at first. I will give you a slight overview about what is happening today. We are in the midst of a multi-paradigm shift. And all that we do today and what we discuss and what we talk about, it's very important to consider the framework in which we are moving. Why? Perhaps you see the echo gap, the gap between ecology and economy. And now, why is it? I could call it a linguistic phenomenon. You see, I'm a holistic scientist. It has to do with the minds that are shaped by the language we use. This is a phenomenon of our Western culture, and it is very, very deeply rooted in pseudoscience called normative science, which materializes in 3 disciplines: pedagogy, economics, and law. So, if we really want a balance between ecology and economy, and we must use sustainable technology, you will immediately ask, how much can it cost? Can we afford it? Who pays for that? We need investors on the private side, companies who want to earn a profit. It's fair in our current understanding. Or we need the state, but the states are in debt. They're indebted. Where do they get the money? From the taxpayers? Not any longer. So if we want to bridge that gap between economy and ecology, we need a different language. The informatics guys here around know the term domain-specific language, perhaps. You know, so we must shift our perception, because the change of the perception changes the society. Usually we believe, oh, our society is so bad because people are so greedy. And others in our society are full of fear. But once we understand that greed and fear are not the causal end of this development, but the result of the conceptual structure in which we are indoctrinated and socialized, we can change that. What does that mean? Economy, as we understand it today, is an artifact. It's an artifact of our human mind, use, for example, financial statement for value measurement on the corporate, regional, national, and international level. But this is not really a measurement because we use money as a medium of exchange. If I measure something in kilograms or meters, the meter and the kilogram neither to have a length nor a weight. They are just the length and the weight of other things. The length and the weight of other things. Not so with our money system. Our money, so they tell us, has an intrinsic value. It has never been the case. Not even in the gold standard, and not even in a gold coin itself. Because without the law of property, the property rights, even your gold coins are worthless. The next robber can take it away. You understand? So either economics and law are one and the same, a social game, so to say, or not at all. As long as we divide society into these two realms of economy, the natural laws of money, and law, the artificial laws of human behavior that can be forced and sanctioned, as long we'll have conflicts in our social groups and societies. Perhaps you know the international financial reporting standards. Those are the financial disclosure rules for publicly listed companies all around the globe. Now, they are fabricated by a small private association in London, paid by the big four CPA firms. They pay those guys to make their rules. And then those rules go to the European Commission, and the European Commission sends the rules to the European Parliament, and the parliaments can't change anything. They must turn it into national law. They don't have any right anymore. Those rules of publicly listed companies are the only most powerful rules on the globe today. But this has nothing to do with democracy, with parliament, with law, and not even with economy, because they are counting wrong things. They are everywhere in their financial statements are circular arguments, and I can prove it over and over again. So it doesn't even make any sense in their own behavioral systems, in their belief systems. They are contradictory from the start on. So those fictional balances with balance states, backward looking, valuation gaps, aggregation of numbers, window dressing to come around valuation rules only to the balance state, all those are the rules that don't matter anymore. Of course, we have to conform to legal rules still, but only for one reason, one important reason, to keep the communication processes in a respectful way upright. Don't damage a communication process. Because if you damage a communication process, the consequence is violence. Violence by the police, by the states, by the judges, by private armies. We call them police today, but they are private armies from business groups. For many hundred years, the most powerful armies in the globe are private armies from business companies and not from national states. Yeah, that's a myth. And what about ecology? As long as we copy the model of economic reporting in the ecological world and we build data, financial data statements, ecological statements published once a year or once a quarter, it's useless. We need real-time data. We need real-time data. We need new interpretation methods. And this is what will bring us forward. So the technology of Wingus is exactly that, what we need today. And when we can construct plausible and provable causal change, then even in their financial statements today, the provisions will turn into legal obligations and the profits will go down in the private companies. And this is, in the old world of the old commercial law, it's a legal argument. As long as they keep those legal rules upright, they have to follow it, because otherwise they break their own rules. They did already break their own rules. They broke the German Grundgesetz with the Finanzmarktstabilitätsgesetz and even the treaties of Lisbon. Yeah, so my argument is the euro isn't a legal tender anymore, because I cannot keep up a fictional money system by breaking the most important legal rules in the continent. Even it is a legal tender by following the law, or it isn't legal money at all. So you have the choice which one to take. You see, all those things only can appear in a world where the society is divided between economic law and legal law. It's a practical joke, but it's not science. So we need real-time data to practice precision farming, scenario planning, and real-time communication. And don't let us live in this illusion that once we have implemented this supply chain of data once and for all, this will be the end of the development. Not at all. In Russia, we have a very forward-looking movement today, the Anastasia movement, where families own 1 hectare of land. They can build with permaculture methods to live together with nature. And we see, with autonomous communities that can produce everything they want out of nature, exactly at the place where they are living, we also have peaceful communities, because whom should they steal anything when they can produce everything in concordance with nature? Yeah? This is the ultimate goal, to live again in harmony with nature and with other communities, human communities around us. So economics and law today are in the part of normative science, and I'm not 400% a fan of Wikipedia, but the English-speaking Wikipedia is great, even in the first sentence. Google the term normative science in the English Wikipedia and read what economics and law, the 2 lead sciences of Western culture, really are. Wikipedia tells you. Normative science, economics and law, is a type of information that is developed, presented, or interpreted based on an assumed, usually unstated, preference for a particular policy or class of policies. The short term for that is propaganda. Edward Bernays. Okay. So economics, law, and pedagogy are propaganda, tools to form the individuals in a social context for special purposes. We won't question. Those has historical reasons. Honest historians can cover up it later on. It's not our concern today. Also pedagogy, educational science is part of this. What we can do is developing the art of co-evolution of all living humans and living beings, nature at large, grounded on mutual respect and empathical communication skills. And this is what I will call systemic social science. And systemic social science reunites pedagogy, economics, and law, but with new terms. And the utmost goal is keep communication processes intact. As long as we follow that rule, we keep away violence, non-violent communication. It's very important. Societies are therefore modeled as communication networks, not goods and services, not markets, not money, not legal rules, and things like that. Of course, still we have to follow them on the outside in a kind of shell. As a programmer, speaking from shells. User interface. But you can keep the algorithm at the background stable and even change the user interface. One user interface for the old legal communities, for the government, for the banks and the old monetary systems. We can switch to alternate currencies, to complementary currencies. However, as long as we still use currencies, sometime later on, we will only have valuation measurements, electronic voucher systems that dissolve when you pay them. If you construct this thing, deflation and inflation cannot be anymore. Because you have a one-to-one relationship between the voucher and the good or service. And once the customer receives it, the voucher dissolves. Okay? So let's not use on the inside, in our kernel group, the old terms of economics and law. Economics has even a definition that is a joke. The Anglo-Americans call it the optimal use of scarce resources. You know what this means. No economist can explain politicians or the population how to get into a society of abundance, because he leaves his own scientific realm. The boundary of economics is scarcity. Only scarce goods are economic goods. So we have to do away with economics. Otherwise, we will never live in a society of abundance. Yeah? It cannot help us to ask economists what to do, let alone they have different opinions all the time. And just same thing with law. Our Western law goes back to Roman law. But Roman law was a trick to conquer the other populations without fighting. They had too few soldiers anymore. Yeah? There was the Pax Romana. And so they switched to an intellectual warfare using it Roman law. In Roman law, you have only dead things and you have debts and obligations. In Roman law, human rights don't exist. So for that. So it is an intellectual weapon, has ever been ever since. Then we had the transformation into canonical law from the Vatican and things like that. And let's stop here because otherwise we are conspiracy theorists. Now let's switch to another conspiracy theory that's not any longer a conspiracy theory, because the Bank of England has committed it, Standard & Poor's, the Deutsche Bundesbank and other authorities, that banks create our money as their own obligations. The Chiral money is nothing more than the debt bill of the bank. And they do it only in their accounting systems. And this procedure they call granting a credit alone. They don't give out anything of value. We can prove it in their financial statements and in their bookkeeping. Every day we can prove it. It has already been empirically proved by Mr. Richard Werner, Professor Richard Werner from the University of Southampton. And he has even published it in a peer-reviewed English-speaking journal. So it is a scientific fact that our money doesn't exist and that it is printed out of thin air in the accounting systems of the banks. Now we shall call this debt and repay it even with interest. It's just a joke. It's a practical joke and nothing more. So money is just numbers in the banking computers. They have to be kept scarce because of money's intrinsic value. If we inflate the money's volume, it loses its value. We call it inflation. But you know, if we use vouchers with a one-to-one relation between the customer and the good, and the voucher is dissolved once he receives his good, yeah, the problem can't even exist. So it's an artificial problem. All banks can be rescued, even politically, with a so-called debt equity swap. Yeah. But this, I leave that to financial ministers' task and to the policy. If they show up the knowledge that they know what the debt of banks really is, the bankers will stop going out of a finite money volume, gold coins, brought into circulation in a small community. We construct a society as a zero-sum game. And a zero-sum game damages the information processes in the society. Why? It's just a plain game theoretical approach. The most well-known zero-sum game on the globe is poker. You all know poker. And now I ask you, with which information strategy will you win in a poker game? You know the rule of poker. The winner takes it all. He gets his own stake and the stake of all other players. So his gain is the loss of all other players. And what are the two best informational rules to win a poker game? First, the poker face. Don't give away any valuable information. And second, even better, the bluff. Yeah? Defraud them. Okay? So you see, the unethical behavior is not a moral deficit of the player. It is the logical winning strategy of a zero-sum game. On the other hand, we have card games like Wizard. You can Google it, like the magician in English, Wizard, where you just get your cards, and then you must say, how much tricks will you make in this round after looking in your cards? And if you make exactly this number of tricks, you get a bonus additionally. If you make less or too much tricks, you have to pay a penalty. So the motivation is fulfill your contract. You will be only paid if you fulfill your contract. It's just the other way around. But we see we can only give all players a bonus in the game if it is not a zero-sum game. Because in this case, there is no one who can take away its money to pay it to the others. So the only way to construct an honest, fair society with open, very valuable informations flowing through the network is to construct society into a plus-sum game. And this is the strategy that we will keep in the core of our information systems right from the start. And in certain user interfaces, we can say, for that community, you must pay for the information. You are still playing your zero-sum game. But in this context, we're playing already plus-sum games. And you will see how much faster and better we develop. So, this already concludes my short lecture. You will find more information in this website. You can contact me on these emails. It's a little complicated. This is my birth date at the end, because there are so many Franz Hermanns at Gmail that I thought, now I'm really unique. Thanks for your attention and have a nice day. Bye. From accounting information systems, we have great technology today. Perhaps you know the language Julia from the MIT. Very, very well apt for analytical data processing. And then derivatives of Smalltalk. Faro is an open source product in this realm. And there's a Swedish group with a revolutionary database called StarCounter. Very, very well apt also for our specific opportunities. And from the viewpoint of knowledge management, I would prefer Prolog. Programming in logics von Alain Kammerauer. There are many, many implementations where we can, the rule basis in the back end, the patterns to follow our national process management for the soils, for example, for the improvement of soils. The knowledge gained in one region can then be transported to the other regions, not in a physical way, because nowadays it stays in the cloud. It stays in the same place. And this is what makes our transformation so revolutionary, because there are no pipelines anymore. As long as I have pipes where some kind of matter flows through, someone can close the pipe and can force payment. You know. But if the information is in the same place, it's only a question who can access it. And these are different rules. It must not solely depend on money to pay to enter this. It can be behavioral aspects, membership in different ways. There are a wide variety of rules how we can get new members in our family of this ecological, economical family, I will call it in the future. Thanks. Yep.
Mr. Hermann, I know that you are an expert on this. Yesterday there was a meeting at the Forest project in Klagenfurt, and in the current daily newspaper from the Kleine Zeitung, there was the first time written that there was Mr. Fischler and then some people from Alpbach, that the value of the companies should not only be based on the cash flow, it should be based also on the damages which they produce. This was the first time when I heard it from some people like Mr. Fischler, who was the former commissioner for Landwirtschaft, for agriculture. And this is, in my point of view, the first time when I heard this from some other people than you, that the balances and the view on companies, or even I think it should be on the gross national product as well. They just put out figures, and nobody talks about, except Mr. Meyer and you, the damages they produce. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because in this thing, I think this is one of the most important view for the future. It doesn't make sense that Greta drives through the world and takes nonsense, but it's good that she does, but doesn't help.
Now, this has to do with political pressure groups in the background of the system. They try to keep up our financial system going. And they win 1 year, a few months, perhaps 2 years. Yeah? And it's the same now with the business model of financial statements. At the end of the 90s, in the last millennium already, even the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants in the USA, where all the CPAs, Certified Public Accountants, are the members, didn't believe anymore in the business model of building up financial statements and then auditing them. Auditing of financial statements was not a viable business goal anymore. They knew that it couldn't work. My former speaker has had some slides from Accenture. It was the consulting division of Arthur Andersen. Arthur Andersen, the auditors, went under, closed down. Accenture still flourishes. Okay, so you understand. What they are now trying is to turn the business model of financial statements into a financial valuation model for ecological damages. Good idea. Perhaps they win another 3 to 5 years to use financial statements as a business model. Well, we accept it because our standpoint is communication. Communication. We understand their goals and we try to communicate with them empathically. If they have goals that are compatible to our goals, and in the context of our environment, obviously this case, we can cooperate in this context and help each other. Yeah? No problem with that. If they want to use their completely idiotic financial statements and they have only one really meaningful goal to improve our environment, we can help them. We can help them and accept it and construct valuation rules, but certainly on a real-time basis and not only once a year or 4 times in the year on a quarterly basis. Yeah? So that we can really turn our ecology and also our societies to the better. Of course, they will have to open up their business model. Much more auditors, local auditors with another education system, more understanding for ecology and for the technology behind that, all that. But that can be also provide because the knowledge is already, we have already the knowledge for that. We know how to put it into a curriculum for these objects. So thank you.
Coffee break, just one short sentence from my side because I have a funny head on. At first, after the coffee break, I will talk a little bit about this damage question as well, valuation. And between Russia and the Minister Fischler, I visited many years ago Minister Fischler. He was agriculture minister in Austria before. with academician Naumov of Russia, and I told him that the evaluation would be important. He negotiated. He said it's not yet of importance. So sometimes the learning process needs some time. It's not always in 5 minutes. Okay, so let's say 20 minutes. Outside, anywhere where you sit down or have a coffee, whatever, like, and then we meet back. Second round. Thank you very much. Yes, a group photo. So Sylvia makes pressure, everybody together, make a big photo of everybody. Okay, outside.
Ja, Test. Ja, da bin ich auch.